Thank you, Mr. President. I first of all wish to thank Ms. Keiko Goto, Director for Europe, Central Asia and the Americas, and refuse clearly and brazenly to the humanitarian.
Reiterates our call for Russia to engage in good faith negotiations on condition to heed the.
Thank you, Mr. President. I first of all wish to thank Ms. Keiko Goto, Director for Europe, Central Asia and the Americas, and the Acting Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Mr. Enrico Ratwati. I thank both for their statements. I wish to also thank the humanitarian personnel deployed in Ukraine to serve the civilians that have fallen victim to this in these events. We meet now to address Russia's aggression against Ukraine. At the same time, Russia continues to refuse clearly and brazenly to give a chance to peace negotiations. Moscow is continuing and even ratcheting up its policy of large-scale airstrikes against major Ukrainian cities. It is indiscriminately targeting civilian areas using drones and ballistic missiles and causing scores of deaths and wounding equal numbers, namely in the capital, as we have just been reminded. In Sloviansk, the honorary consulate of Latvia was hit and 2 of its staff members were wounded. We express our full solidarity with Ukraine and Latvia. We also express our support for Romania, again confronted by drone incursions into its airspace. This Council must also acknowledge the full magnitude of the highly calculated offensive that Russia resumed a few weeks ago against Ukraine's agricultural exports. Ms. Goto described in the most precise terms by attacking and deliberately destroying Odessa port infrastructure, as well as vessels transporting Ukrainian grain in the Black Sea and a WFP warehouse in Dnipro. Russia is not only killing innocent civilians, but it is directly imperiling the food security of millions of individuals, particularly in Africa and the Middle East. Going back to a policy that we hoped had been abandoned, a policy from the beginning of this war. Finally, we decry the targeted attacks against humanitarian facilities essential for the recovery of Ukrainian civilians. A WHO warehouse housing medical treatments and a UNICEF warehouse containing support equipment to assist the civilian population have also been destroyed by Russian strikes in recent days. These attacks clearly violate international humanitarian law. President, in the face of this continued dangerous escalation, France reaffirms its tireless support to Ukraine. Alongside G7 at Evian, with NATO in Ankara, and with the Coalition of the Willing in Paris held on the 13th of July, we confirmed our active and tangible support for Ukraine. Ukraine has endured and continues to endure and exercise its right to self-defense in accordance with the UN Charter. We have mobilized fully to create the conditions for a just and lasting peace in accordance with the principles of international law and the United Nations Charter, buttressed by robust security guarantees. President, after 4 years of war, Russia has not yet succeeded in achieving its goals on the front. At the same time, it continues to place the cost of this devastating war squarely on the shoulders of the Ukrainian people. The Secretary General of the United Nations has long called for an immediate, comprehensive and unconditional ceasefire. He's not the only one to do so. His appeal is supported by the overwhelming majority of member states from across all continents, including, of course, France. Instead of further fueling the escalation of this war, it is high time that Moscow finally heed these appeals. Moscow must put an end to fighting, engage in direct negotiations with Ukraine with the participation of the United States and Europeans. We are ready to foster progress on this front. The Council must also do its part. Thank you.
Those casualties and countless other deaths could have been avoided had Russia answered President Trump's call to negotiate an end to this war. As we have said before, there is no military solution to this war. Both Ukraine and Russia must return to the negotiating table. Far too much blood has been spilled. The world is paying a heavy price because of this war. It must end. The United States renews its call for an immediate ceasefire and for Russia and Ukraine to negotiate in good faith a durable resolution of this war. The United States remains prepared to play a constructive role to achieve that outcome and to facilitate talks between Moscow and Kyiv. Our commitment to peace in Ukraine is unwavering. Finally, I must point out that there is a member of this council that will feign moral outrage and pretend to lecture the rest of us about every topic, whether it's about the very conflict we're discussing yet again today, or even those unrelated to international peace and security, like human rights. That is why we walked out during France's intervention. This disingenuous grandstanding is tiresome, but we have tolerated it out of a sense of camaraderie and mutual respect as P5 members. We have stood by this member state through every conflict in which their freedoms have been imperiled, and today I remind them that it is the United States that remains the beacon of liberty for the world. As such, we will not be affording them the benefit of listening to their politicized drivel until they renounce their condescending and disrespectful rhetoric and behave in a manner commensurate with their seat on this council. I thank you.